Hey friends, welcome to another exciting episode where we are diving into spiritual transformation and healing, my personal specialty. If you are new here, welcome to the Limitless Liberation Podcast. My name is Natasha. I am the founder of the Sacred Liberation Academy. This is your safe space to explore the science of self-discovery and the art of personal transformation. Together, we dive into empowering stories, actionable tools, and research-backed insights to help you reconnect with your authentic self. I also help you heal from the past and step boldly into your limitless future. Whether you're here for inspiration, growth, or a fresh perspective, you have come to the right place. Today, we're talking about breaking through into spiritual growth and talking about some healing essentials. We're going to go over why feeling stuck often holds a deeper meaning within you. We're also going to go over the importance of trusting the universe in times of uncertainty. I know that that's tough. We're going to go over manifestation myths, and we are also going to talk about fate and free will and soul contracts. We're going to talk a little bit about shadow work as well, because in order to live authentically, we do need to dig in there. So we're going to start out by discussing energetic blocks and how it affects your personal growth. So I have worked with chakra alignment clients now for probably 3 or 4 years, professionally a couple of years, but I was doing it quite a bit before then. I just wouldn't let people pay me before I worked on my money blocks. So let's talk about that really quick, because every person that I see on a daily basis, I see clients who have blocks within their chakra centers. And if you're not familiar with the chakra system, I would encourage you, if you're on this path, to dig into it a little bit and to kind of try to recognize what resonates with you, where the chakras are, and where you feel emotional static, where you feel blockages, and also where you have physical pain. So we have 7 main chakras, and I'm just going to go over them real quick. We're going to have other episodes that really dive into this, but just for today's purpose, I just want you to be familiar with kind of what I'm talking about. So 7 main chakras. The first one is your root. That is at like the base of your spine. So root chakra is where we feel grounded, connected with like this world, and just basically if we have like a good stable home situation and we feel like we can stand on our own 2 feet, you've got a decent root chakra. If you are feeling like you're a little bit unstable, your home life is kind of chaotic, you can have, an out of whack root chakra. So root chakra, and then your second one is your sacral. That's about 2 fingers below your belly button. That's where shame and guilt like to live. So if you have a lot of stomach issues, it's very likely that shame and guilt have been a huge part of your life. And then the third one is going to be your solar plexus. That's right at the base of your sternum, and that is our creative center. So that being at the center of our body is basically our core. That's our core human design and what we're meant to do while we are here. And what I mean by creative center is like what lights you up, what excites you, what things have you been drawn to your entire life. That is where that energy sits. And that's where basically the core of our, this soul's mission sits, is within that solar plexus. So people get that one blocked a lot if they are like people pleasers, and if they're having a hard time trying to fit in with like societal norms, and it truly doesn't align with them. I know that I had that issue, and that's what I've worked on, and that's why I'm here talking to you guys. So then the fourth one is your heart chakra, right in the center of your chest. Your heart chakra has to do with self-love and love of others. So remember that all of these energy centers have to do with, giving it and taking it, right? So your heart center is your love space. Above that, right in the center, like right at the base of your throat, in that little tiny divot that you have there, like right in the middle, I forgot what those are called, of your clavicle. That is your throat chakra. And so again, that's how you talk to yourself. That's also how you talk to other people. A lot of times there's blockages there if you're unable to speak your truth. If you're in an environment where you can't speak your truth, you're going to have blockages in the throat. Next one up is called your third eye, and that is right on your forehead, right above your nose, and that is where you and your guides connect. So that is where you get information from your specific guides. From your spirit team. If you're a medium, a lot of times that's where you get really, really, really bad headaches. I know that when I'm, when I'm really in the zone and I'm getting mediumship hits, as well as like if I'm in a room with a lot of energy and a lot of people who are really connected connected and there's just a lot going on, that's where I get those headaches at. And then the last chakra is your crown chakra, which sits above your head. And that is where you are connected with source, whatever you want to call it, source, God, spirit, whatever your belief system is, that is where your connection lies, is right there, right above your head. So oftentimes, now that I've really quickly gone over the 7 chakra system, oftentimes there are a lot of people who feel tightness in their chest. A lot of people feel tightness in their chest, and they've always been told, oh, it's anxiety. Like, that's what I've always been told, right? And yeah, it's always anxiety. However, there's a deeper root to it. There's a root cause to the reason why your heart chakra is out of whack. And there's a lot of very energetically sensitive people who have gone through very traumatic relationships. Oftentimes they have been in relationships where they really, really love that other person, but that other person doesn't have the capacity to love them back. And when that happens, because people can only meet you at the level that they met themselves, remember that all the time, always, okay? It helps you allow other people to live autonomously and to take the emotional pull out of whatever their actions are, so that you don't hurt as much when they do just the things that they do, right? So, people in traumatic relationships have been in this turmoil where they're loving this person. They're putting so much out. They're putting all of this love into this person, right? Who is not even capable, no matter how hard they try, because honestly, let's be honest, usually they don't try very hard. As no matter how hard they try, they can't come back and refill that cup for you. You're pouring so much out into them. So then you end up with an overactive heart, and it causes anxiety and you get pain in your chest. That's just what happens. So we talked in the last episode about neutrality and how important neutrality is. You need to be receiving just as much as you are giving, and you are worth receiving just as much as you are giving. So when you do that, then if you have heart center issues and you have chest pain and anxiety and tightness and all that ick in there, right? You finally start to release some of that and your body actually physically feels better. So that's essentially what an energy block is. And so if you can think of, there's a book that I recommended in the last podcast too, called Chakra Healing. And it is like the basic chakra healing book that I think everybody should own if they're interested in it. You can get it anywhere. You can get it on Amazon. I think every bookstore I've ever been to has it. And it's literally just called Chakra Healing. It goes over, the physical ailments associated with different chakras. It goes over exactly where they are, meditations for them. It has different ohms for them as well. So different frequencies that help you align them. So this is really where you can kind of start to, get your feet wet a little bit if you are noticing that you've got these blocks. And if you're noticing where they are, you can kind of start to heal yourself in a way. And you can definitely do it with yourself. You do not have to hire a practitioner to do it. However, the reason why I do what I do and why I have clients that come to me to do chakra alignments for them is because you can only see what you know. You can only see what you know and what you can see. And an outside perspective can see so much more than you know or can see. So you can definitely do it yourself and you can get to a certain point. However, having an outside perspective that is a safe person that can help you move stuff that you can't even see and help you recognize things and patterns that you can't even see is a huge benefit. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you find somebody that you feel safe and comfortable with. If you're safe and comfortable with me, we can do this over distance. So it's the same thing, all energy work, same with Reiki as well. Same with psychic stuff, same with mediumship stuff. You can do at a distance. You could be across the world because there's no such thing as time or space when it comes to energy. So as long as the intention is there and I am moving what you are allowing me to move, because I can only come into your energy as much as you'll allow me to. I'll never, ever, ever push that. Nobody should. If anybody tries, do not let them. Stop the session immediately, okay? So you can move that easily. There's just no such thing as time or space when you're just scooching energy around. And we can talk about that on a later podcast. So anyhow, that's what I would recommend kind of starting with if you wanted to get into this and recognize where your energetic blocks are. There are a lot of science-backed there's a lot of science-backed documentation regarding this, so you can also do some deep research on it. Definitely, if it sounds interesting to you, I would recommend reading up on it and finding everything you can, to look it up and see what resonates with you. So the basis for these energetic blocks means that there are suppressed emotions there. So when people have like a blocked throat chakra, it means that they're not allowed to speak their truth, like I said before. And when you're not allowed to speak your truth, you're shoving things down. And the more you shove things down, the more clogged up your entire system gets. So suppressed emotions create a sense of paralysis in your decision making and your goal setting, which is why we need to move those and clear those things out and kind of flush your system so that you can have some decent goals. You know where to point your arrow, you know where north is for you, and you can actually start to make some decisions based on where you know you want that, where your north is essentially and where you want to go. It's really difficult to do that with a clogged up, blocked system because there's really not much movement there. And if you can't really move, then you're just going to sit there stuck. So, something else that you can do too, I try to give you guys like different practical tools to utilize if these different things resonate with you and if you want to try to work through them. So one thing that you can do with this is to journal. And the journal prompt that I like to use is, what unmet needs or fears might this block be showing me? So let's say that you have that chest pain in your chest. You have anxiety, you have tightness, all of that in your chest. Think about that. Sit with it for a minute. What unmet needs or fears might this block be showing me? Think about it. And then write down everything that comes to you. Do not overthink this answer. This is going to be like a brain dump journaling exercise. You need to write down everything that comes to you. Next, you can do movement exercises. So physical movement is a huge piece of chakra alignment, energy alignment, clearing, and everything like that. And it's even better if you can do it outside with bare feet. Get your feet in the grass, recharge yourself, come back to center. But doing yoga, even sitting like in the grass outside and just meditating, sitting there, like soak up the sun for like 5 or 10 minutes. Even if you don't have a specific direction for what you want to do in that moment, just move your body however it feels natural, or just sit in the grass and just connect. It will help you ground and just clear your mind out. And what you can do, if you're having a hard time finding direction with this, you can go sit on the ground. You can put your hands on the ground, like sit crisscross, put your hands on the ground in front of you, close your eyes, take a really deep breath. And then when you exhale, just imagine pushing all of the gunk out of your body. Like your exhale is Drano for your body. And imagine wherever you're feeling icky, you're going to see like ick, just like crud in there, right? Like black or brown crud. And when you exhale, just imagine blowing it back out into Mother Nature because she knows what to do with it. Don't feel bad. She knows how to help you with it. She's ready to take it on and help you with it, okay? Because the more that you are helped and the more that you're energetically aligned, the more that you are aligned with the universe and the whole plan, right? So once you start to understand your personal blocks, you can start to trust your unfolding process because you do have an unfolding process. Everybody does. It's going to feel uncertain at some points, at sometimes, but having some faith there will definitely help. So this brings us to our next topic, which is to trust the universe in times of uncertainty. So if you're like me and you grew up a very, very, very anxious person and really wanted some sense of control in your life, this is going to be probably fairly difficult for you if you have not practiced it yet. However, it is definitely not impossible, and practice makes perfect. So when we have times of uncertainty, right, it completely challenges that need for us to control. It challenges our sense of stability, like whatsoever, right? So let's say, one of the things that I have with with a lot of my clients, like I said, I attract a lot of people that have gone through similar things that I have gone through, and that's why we work well together, because I've been there already and come out the other side. So one thing, like let's say after a breakup, right? You broke up with somebody or they broke up with you. You thought they were the love of your life. You thought it was all going to be totally fine. And then all of a sudden your earth shatters and it implodes on you. And you're like, what do I do now? And you're just terrified. You're terrified. You don't have any control. Your feet aren't on the ground. And you're like, I literally don't know what my next step is. Finding comfort in that is essential. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because how can you be uncomfortable or how can you be comfortable in the most uncomfortable situation ever, right? So if you are able to sit with that discomfort and say, okay, let's rewire this a little bit. Okay, because when you are able to rewire it and think about it a little bit differently, you are able to, you're changing those neural pathways in your brain again, which reduces anxiety, and then it also boosts your personal resilience. And so then you're able to do more things, but you have to be mindful first. And so let's be mindful of that moment. So you guys broke up, it's the next day, you have to go get all of your shit out of the house, right? Or they have to come get theirs. And so you might have to see them again. You don't know what's going to happen, if they're going to blow up. You don't know if you're going to blow up. You have no idea, right? So if you're able to sit in that moment and instead of completely ruminating about the what ifs, don't ruminate about the what ifs. If this was an abusive relationship, have somebody you trust be with you. It's key. Even if you have to call the police department and say, my ex is coming to get their stuff today and I really need somebody else to be here because this feels like an unsafe situation, but I have to be here to unlock the door and I need somebody to be here. You have to do what you have to do to protect yourself, and that's okay. We're not going to let everything go to the wayside and not prepare for anything. We are going to sit in the moment. We are going to take a deep breath and we are going to restructure it. Okay. So you're broken up. You're scared. You think that the police should be there because you don't feel safe with your ex coming back, but they have to come back to get their things. Okay, perfect. So you call them, they come out. Excellent. So you have that part taken care of. Now, after this breakup, what is your life going to feel like? Not look like. I want you to ask yourself what your life is going to feel like. How is it going to feel different? Every single day, if you are able to, let's say you're able to vacuum without pissing somebody off who's playing their video games, how is that going to feel? To do it whenever you want to do. How is that going to feel? What is your financial situation going to look like? Is it going to look better? Is it going to look worse? If it's going to look worse, okay, maybe for a minute, but we trust that the universe has our back. And if we see an opportunity, we're going to think about it. Okay, or maybe we're going to start a job hunt, whatever it is. Everything is palpable. If you create an environment in your mind where everything is palpable and reasonable, and almost like you have an impartial third party in your brain helping you process these things, you can even just call it mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness, I need your help right now. It helps you to reframe and restructure a little bit. One of the biggest things that you can do, so that's like a huge example, right? In the day-to-day, we do have moments, I'm sure a lot of us have moments day-to-day where, you kind of feel unsafe or a little unsettled, whatever it is, right? If you're able to bring yourself to a stable place of neutrality, I know I use that word a lot, a stable place of neutrality consistently, then those moments of uncertainty won't feel nearly as scary because they don't sneak up on you and scare the crap out of you, right? So if you practice daily affirmations, like let's say, I am safe, okay? The universe is working for me. So I am safe, the universe is working for me. If you say that every day, repeat it to yourself in the mirror, you start to feel safer every single day. Okay. Even if let's say you create, one of the things that I do is I create a ritual, that feels safe, when I'm in uncertain times. And the most important part of that is grounding. And so the thing that I do is I stop everything that I'm doing, in a moment that it's reasonable to do so. I stop everything that I'm doing. I go into my Zen den and I sit down, I light either Palo Santo or incense, and I clear my entire body. And I take a few deep breaths and I literally just sit there and I ask my guides to show me whatever they need to show me. I just say, what do I need to hear right now? And then they come through and they show me exactly what I need to see. And they tell me exactly what I need to hear in the moment. And 100% of the time, that works to bring me back to center when I am feeling unsafe. So, speaking of trust, let's talk now about how energy alignment rather than traditional manifestation methods play into creating the life that you actually really want. So manifestation, and I say manifestation lightly because I think that it gets thrown around a lot. And if you've ever heard me talk before about manifestation, you know my thoughts on this. So manifestation, a lot of people think, oh yeah, or hear somebody say, oh, I manifested this, right? I manifested my dream life. I really did. I manifested my dream life. It continues to grow. It continues to expand, but I'm in a place now that I dreamed of at one point. Okay. And I didn't do that because I wished to the universe that I could have this life. I didn't do it that way. Okay. So the way that I manifest and the way that it works very well for me is I align with my energy. That is all it is. So the difference between manifestation and an energy alignment is that a lot of people think that manifestation is just wishing. When you utilize manifestation as a tool to point your arrow north, right? Like we talked about earlier, and then take goal-driven visualizations to take action, basically to start actionable or like palpable action towards this goal, right? That is when you start to actually follow that path. So manifestation is the first step. You look in a direction, you go, okay, this is what I want. And I have a very specific idea of what I am looking for. Now, what do I need to do to get there? What are the baby steps that I can take to get there? Like today, what is one thing I can do? If I want a new car in 6 months, what is one thing I can do to set myself up for that today? Okay. And then you have those tiny steps. And when you make sure that your manifestation goals align with your highest priorities, like we talked about in the last podcast, when your manifestation lines up with your highest priorities and lines up with your soul blueprint, that is when you start to literally hit the ground running and you hit those points, because those action steps that you are taking have like no resistance to them. When you are aligned with, or when you are looking for something that's not aligned with you, there's so much resistance. There's so much. It is insane. And that's why it feels so hard to get things that aren't meant for you. Even in the moment, if you're like, yeah, but I really like that, it's probably not what's meant for you. And that's why it's so hard to get. So it's time to refocus. And there's actually scientific proof. So neuroscience reveals that creating intentions aligned with your emotional state activates certain parts of your brain that are linked to motivation and decision making. So when you are able to pool all of those things together and get them culminating in the same spot, you just hit the ground running, and there's so much less resistance because you're actually in line with what works best for you, not with what somebody else wants you to do, not with what society wants you to do, but what works for you. So the biggest tool for this is what we talked about a couple minutes ago, which is to focus on the feeling. Okay. So my dream life that I have right now, I've always wanted to feel this way. For a very long time, I've wanted to feel this way. For most of my life, actually. I've wanted to feel the things that I feel on a consistent basis now, and the outside looks so much different than I thought that it would look. But because I was opened up to, I just want to feel this way. This is what I want to feel. And this is what I want to create on a daily basis. This is the job that I want to have. Like, I want to have a job centered around this, this, and this, right? I want to have a career centered around this, this, and this. I want to make good money doing this, this, and this. Because all of those things are centered around a place of feeling, I'm able to feel those because I am not looking for something specific on the outside. I'm looking for something internal, and you will get there so quickly. So instead of focusing just on the external outcome, right, you have to anchor that energy in the feeling that you want to embody. So I want peace. I want stability, those kinds of things. Okay. And it's okay to visualize kind of what you want. Like, let's go back to the new car thing. I want a new car in 6 months because I want a car that has heated seats. I want a car that I have a remote start with. Those are the things you can kind of start to embody. Like, it would be so nice to get into a car in the winter that's already warmed up for me. I would just love that feeling. So, think about it a little bit differently, okay? We're talking about feelings. So let's talk now a little bit about your soul's contract, okay? This is where your fate and your free will start to intersect, and we're going to touch on it just a little bit today. So your soul contract is the contract that you signed before you came into this incarnation. Everybody believes different things. That's what I believe. And that's, I'm very open about that, so that the clients that I attract and everything are, believe very similar things too. So I do believe in soul contracts. I believe before we came here, we were like, hey, this is what our soul needs to learn, while we are here. And this is kind of what we want to do. So the importance between balancing your fate and your free will is monumental. So divine timing usually places opportunities in your path, right? But your free will determines how you respond to them. And both of those things are equally powerful in your soul contract. All right. So this is the actionable steps that I was talking about earlier. Once you identify your personal blueprint, and we did talk about this in the last podcast too. So once you're connected to your blueprint, or you at least have a decent idea of what your blueprint is, like the things that show up in your life on a consistent basis that you love, that light up your soul, all those things, right? When you get opportunities to follow that, you still have the power of free will. You can do whatever you want. That's like the point of being human, is you have the power of free will. How are you going to use it, right? So you get these opportunities that line up, and you have to have faith that, you have to, first of all, have faith in yourself that you can make the right decision between right and wrong for yourself. And then your action beyond that helps to shape where you are going, right? You're creating that reality for yourself. So when you get those moments, make sure that you maybe sit and think with them for a minute and go, okay, is this connected to my, is this from my higher self? Is this connected to my highest good? Does this align with my blueprint? Think of all of those things, okay? Something that you can do a journaling prompt for this, actually. A couple of them, actually. So the first one is, what recurring patterns in my life might be part of my soul's contract? So if there's things that continually pop up in your life, if you have relationship patterns that pop up in your life, that is something to get into and to start to dissect, okay? That's going to be a really, really big deal, because once you stop that pattern, you create so much room for not that pattern, okay? And then number 2 is, how can I shift my perspective to embrace divine timing? So how can you trust that the universe has got your back? Okay, so maybe try those patterns or those journal prompts next time you're able to sit down and journal. And kind of, dig in more to a little bit of who you are, why you're here, what you're doing. And remember that the thing that you're meant to do is the thing that lights your soul on fire. Otherwise it wouldn't. Okay. So now that we've kind of touched on that, let's talk about shadow work a little bit, because I know it sounds overwhelming, but it really doesn't have to be. So shadow work is not about just reliving pain, right? It's about integrating suppressed parts of yourself for your wholeness, because we all have a shadow side. Everybody's got a light side. Everybody's got a shadow side. We talked about this in the last podcast, right? When we have to come to a point of neutrality, every action has an equal reaction. That is just, that's science at a base level. And that is how the atoms in our body work. So if you're somebody like me and you grew up as a very, very anxious person, you're probably trying to avoid your shadows. You are avoiding scary things, right? And the more you avoid, the more it perpetuates the anxiety. The anxiety feeds off of avoidance. It's literally like it's chasing you. Every time you avoid, the anxiety gets stronger because it's chasing that thing, right? So There's a lot of studies in trauma therapy that actually show that when you acknowledge those negative emotions, it reduces their impact on your mental health. Because once you are able to go back into that moment in a safe environment, whether that is like with somebody who's like coaching like me, with a therapist, if you're able to do it by yourself with journal prompts, whatever it is, if you're able to reconnect with that moment in a safe environment, you're actually able to neutralize the moment and the emotional pull. And when it feels safe to go there, you don't have to run from it anymore. Your brain doesn't have to run from the scary thing because it's not so scary. It's like having a tiger chasing you, right? And it perpetuates all these panic attacks. It is like having a tiger chase you, and then all of a sudden you turn around and it's a kitten. And you're like, why was I running? Like you turn around and you're like, oh my goodness, okay. And there's a lot of depth to shadow work. This is just like scraping the surface of it, but there's shadow work journals and stuff that you can get too. However, once you start to dive into those parts of you and you start to recognize those shadow pieces, this is when you can your momentum goes a little bit quicker too. So because literally you are like flushing things out of your system that is creating space for more momentum, and you're getting rid of the heavy stuff so that you can have the light stuff, and so that you can come to more of a place of neutrality for yourself. So the biggest thing that you want to do when you're talking about shadow work, when you're getting into it, is that you want to focus on the really small steps. So like the first time that you're going to dig into yourself, we just want to shave off like a little bit of the shame and the guilt. And remember that lies in the sacral chakra. So if you've got a lot of heavy shame and guilt, we really need to do a lot of shadow work with you, okay? So the one little thing that you can do is you can start by just identifying one limiting belief, okay? So if you can think of one limiting belief you have, like I don't deserve to live a rich life. If you have that limiting belief, or if you think that you have to work really, really, really hard for every dollar you make, that's a limiting belief, okay? If you can identify that and you can dissect, where did I get that from? Is that really a thought that I have? Or is that what somebody told me? Or is that what my environment shared with me when I was a kid? And if you look for places in your life where that actually hasn't been true, you start to neutralize it. So let's say that's a limiting belief that I had. So we're going to start with me real quick. I'll walk you through it. So when I grew up, my parents worked like way too hard for every single dollar they had. Money was crazy stressful, and it was never like we never had enough. I don't remember one time in my childhood my parents being like, "We're good." Like there was a huge heaviness around money, okay? And they were always stressed about it. So in my brain, when I grew up, I was like, oh, you have to work like really hard for every single dollar, and life is just a struggle with money, and you never have enough. So because I grew up that way, I don't want to raise my daughter that way, and I don't believe that about myself anymore because I learned how to work out of it. And the way that I learned how to work out of that limiting belief is, okay, what moments in my life have I not had to work really that hard for money? And what did that feel like? And I will literally reflect on every moment that I can remember in my life where I really didn't have to work for money, but it came to me. And so I proved to myself that that is actually a false belief. It's a limiting belief, and it's not for me. And that's one of the biggest things too. Once you identify that limiting belief, you go, oh, that's not for me. And once you actually explain that to the universe, you say, oh, that's not for me. You are declaring to the universe that ideology is not for you, and it knocks out of your system. It might take a couple of tries to do because limiting beliefs are pretty darn pushy, but when you say that, you're pushing it out of your system and you're rewiring your brain, okay? And one of the biggest things that you want to remember with this is that you have to do this exploration with a lot of self-compassion. Gratitude journaling is a really big deal. You can do that. Journaling is like one of the biggest things that you can do because you are getting things out onto paper and they're coming out of your brain, and you're physically unloading the mental stuff. So in that moment, when I recognized that in my childhood, money was really hard to come by, you had to work really hard for it, I don't blame my parents for saying that stuff. That was their reality, and that's nothing that I could have changed. There's nothing that I could have fixed by it. Like, that is just their reality. And just because I grew up watching that as an example, I'm not upset with them about that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not upset that for a decent chunk of my adult life, for, let's see, I'm 34. So what is that? So for 15, 16 years of my life that I've been technically an adult so far, that I have, struggled with that. You know what I mean? And so I'm not mad at myself. I just, you learn things when you learn things. And I'm telling you, the second that you're able to drop that off of your radar, money started rolling in for me immediately. It was incredible. And my business started to take off. That's why I'm doing this podcast right now, because other things are going very well and people want more of what I have to say. And I'm getting out there as much as I can. And it affects so many other areas of my life too. It's not just the money that it affects, but it affects these opportunities that are coming to me. So once you knock one limiting belief, it's like when you get a chakra out, when it's out of alignment and you get it into place, it affects all the other things around you. It's a ripple effect, okay? So none of this is technically easy, but it is always worth it. And it's worth the time, like putting 5 to 10 minutes per day into yourself, however you need to integrate it, is going to be key for you. Okay. So, let's talk about key takeaways from today. Let's go over them real quick. So, number one, we talked about feeling stuck and that it actually has a meaning, right? Trusting the universe isn't completely blind faith. You can be a little bit delulu. Okay. And it is considered active surrender, which is maybe like a nicer way to say it to yourself. But being a little bit delulu is exactly where you want to be. You just don't want to go all the way. Okay. Alignment transforms manifestation. So once you are in line, manifestation starts to happen. Fate and free will coexist perfectly together. And shadow work can heal without feeling entirely overwhelming. I will end there. I am so excited that you guys are here. Thank you for joining me yet again for another podcast. I am so grateful that I'm able to bring this to you and that my life has aligned in a way where I can help other people. Reach out to me if you need anything. Check out the Sacred Liberation Academy for courses, workbooks, and coaching opportunities. Like I said, the June 2025 group coaching cohort is now open for enrollment, and there is a 20% off coupon in checkout. So go check that out as well. And I am so excited to see you next time. Take care, guys.